I've got some double-sided tape which I've stuck onto the bed of the planer. I've stuck some 60 grit on top of that. I have it in a roll. I just unrolled it on top of the glue, on top of this double stick tape. That is now firmly fixed to the bed of the planer, and I'm using that as a flat surface to run this neck backwards and forwards on. So the whole length of the neck is supported. I'm just very gently moving it backwards and forwards. I'm not really applying any pressure at any particular point. You can see I've marked this here with some pencil marks on the back of the neck, and as I expected it would, it's sanding it there and on the opposite corner, and it hasn't really touched the rest of it yet, and that's exactly what I was expecting was going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and just gently move it backwards and forwards until I get to the point where all the X's, all the pencil marks, have been sanded off, and then I can be fairly confident that this neck is flat, and hopefully it's not going to move again. I don't think it will. I think it's done everything it's going to do in terms of the movement, and I prefer to do it this way than to steam it or to heat it up. I've been sanding this for a while. This part of the neck is now flat. This part is flat, but it's not quite flat all the way across, all the way along the length of the neck, I should say. There's still a few X's showing here and some here, so this is a low point and this is a low point. Basically what that means is everything has to come down until these disappear, but I'm getting there. It's a slow job. I'm not trying to rush it, and I keep checking it. It's developing how I expected it would. So I think it's going to be fine, and then I may have to channel this out a bit more to get the truss rod back. However, most of the wear as I'm sanding it, it's sanding from the edges more than the inside, which is a good thing. I might be able to get this back without too much fiddling about. Anyway, I'm going to carry on. Okay, I've finished sanding this now, and I'm pretty pleased with it. It seems completely flat when I rest it on this side of the plane where the sandpaper isn't. It sits perfectly flat, there's no wobble, so these are flat. So if these are flat, this must be flat. Obviously, through the sanding I put a bit of an angle on this, which wasn't the way this was originally made. So what I'm doing now is, to compensate for that, I'm going to sand a bit off the heel so that when this fits into the body it will still be square to the body. I don't think this was ever square anyway to begin with, so just putting the headstock in this cloth to protect it, the back of it, and then looking at this end, I know that I can't get any wrinkles out. I know that it's thinner on this side than this side now, so what I'm trying to do is just keeping it parallel to the bed of the plane. I'm just sanding it just to take off this side so it will be a little bit more accurate when it's inserted into the body. Of course you can compensate for all that with the bridge and things like that, but I want to try to get it as accurate as I possibly can. So I'm just moving this backwards and forwards, keeping this covered. Trying to keep this covered. applying a little bit of pressure to the left hand side to take it off of here, not off the other side. See, that's working quite well. Yeah. I suspect in order for this to fit the guitar properly, this will have to go all the way across. Anyway, I'm going to carry on sanding that, and then I'll have to refinish this with some polyurethane or some sort, so that it you don't notice it's been done. Only this much will be showing anyway, because this will be inside the body, in the pocket, the neck pocket will cover up to here. You can see where that line is. Hi YouTubers, welcome back. Got a few things to show you. I've had this under this heavy levelling bar to keep it from bowing again. Seems to be quite flat. There was a split in the wood here, and looking at the wood, it's consistent with the grain. It goes from there all the way up to here, and in this particular spot it was open. That may not have been there originally, but it opened up. Maybe when I was taking it off, I'm not absolutely sure, but anyway, I put some of this Bond Lock thin super glue, and that I wicked that in, gave it 2 or 3 coats. I've got to clean it now, but I think that's going to take care of it. On this side there's no visible leakage, so that will help stabilize that anyway, which is the whole point. And then the truss rod, which I finally got out, it looks like a Martin truss rod to some degree. However, it's not connected in one piece as the Martin ones are. It just comes out the aluminium shaft. So I straightened this up because it was quite bent. I straightened the shaft as well. I think it had been over adjusted for a long time and it just bent. I glued these spacers back. They're just some sort of paper that's wrapped around. I put a bit of masking tape as well, and the nut here on the bottom. The groove in the neck here, because I sanded the edges down, the truss rod bolt at this end was hitting the bottom of the neck, and so this wasn't sitting flush, or even I'm actually trying to get it to sit slightly below the surface. So I got a small chisel and just chiseled out a groove to take the nut, and this will all go back in quite nicely. It's just a firm fit, not a loose fit, but it's not super tight. And then I noticed there was a piece of wood glued in here that seemed to act as a stop for when they put the truss rod in. I'm also not sure why they continue to route this out all the way up to here, and yet the truss rod only comes to here. It seems to make this a bit of a weak spot, especially as it's under string tension. I've been thinking about putting a block of wood in there and gluing it in and sanding it, just to give a bit more strength to the upper part of the neck. What I'll do with this is I'm going to use some epoxy to adhere that bolt to the aluminium shaft. It doesn't matter if anything gets in there. In fact, if there is some epoxy in the top, I can only see that would be useful. It's not going to bend up there anyway. And I should probably do the same thing with this nut, just glue it with some lightweight CA glue, for what it's worth, just to bond that nut to the aluminium, but not to the thread, because obviously that needs to be able to move. So that goes in there. Let's get the nut the right way. That seats in nicely. So that I will bond that in when I get the right glue. Okay, basically I'm just going to apply it to the end here. Get it on the thread. On the other end I'm going to put the bolt and this thread. It's just I'm not going to put any undue pressure on it, I just want to tighten it. Make sure it's just by hand so I know this is where it's supposed to be. Just going to clean that extra off. It's pretty square to me. There's a little bit left. I'm going to just put that. It's right there on the inside. I think that's about all I can do. I'm just going to leave it at a slight angle down, so the epoxy will run down. And there we have it.